John, this is an election year, and global conflicts are dominating the news everywhere. And one of the biggest concerns that everybody that I talk to is what's going on regarding commercial real estate and the housing market. So you're the tenant guy. We're going to all tune in to hear what you have to say. I understand that you're in charge of procuring office space for Wells Fargo. Take us through some of the locations that you select right now. Where are Wells Fargo's locations?
Well, we're all over the world,
right.
But lately, as a result of COVID, as a result of hybrid work and technology, most of us big corporates have been shrinking in our footprints. And that is continuing on with Wells Fargo, although we'll make some key moves to strategic places. We made a key move here in Manhattan by buying 20 Hudson Yards, and we're going to be moving a bunch of our space from the Grand Central area out to the west side. We'll be doing that. We've got a large development that we're underway with now in Dallas of some 800,000 feet that will be a consolidation of disparate locations that we have in the Midwest and Texas. So those are the two big ones that we have.
So we'll get into the growing cities and the shrinking cities, but take us through Hudson Yards. I think particularly our audience in New York wants to hear about staple tenants, anchor tenants like yourself, and what made you choose Hudson Yards, and tell us about that deal, if you can.
Well, it was, so Hudson Yards came in two pieces for us. The one was back in 2015-16.
It's 20 Hudson Yards, correct?
It's 20, but we also own a 500,000-foot condo at 30 Hudson.
Wow.
And that's what started the migration to the west side. We were, at the time, at 375 Park Avenue and other disparate locations in and around the Plaza District in Manhattan. We had outgrown all the space, and frankly, the space at the 375 Park had gotten dated for us. So rather than redo the space in place, we look for a new location.
Everybody hear that? That's incredible. So that's what we're hearing is the B spaces, rather than renovating, you're getting sparkling new with. So
yeah, make no mistake, 375 Park is an A-plus location and a beautiful building. Mm-hmm. It's just that you can't renovate the space while you're in it.
Got it.
And the floor plates were not particularly conducive with the rather growing trading floor that we needed. So the real spur to this was to find something on the order of at least 70,000 square feet floor plate so that our trading operation can behave more efficiently, and Hudson Yards offered that up. So as we looked around, we looked downtown, we looked midtown. We had some things on 6th Avenue that we were looking at, and I got to hand it to our executives who were pretty forward-thinking and saying, let's do this Hudson Yards thing. At the time, we had passed on 30 Hudson because they couldn't accommodate us. As it turns out, I was friends with Tom Santiago, who at the time was the head of Warner Media. He was looking to unload a couple of their studio floors, which were 75,000 square feet, which were perfect for our trading operation. So we went to Related and said, hey, could you make a condo that's sort of split for us? We'll take these two podium floors that are big, and then we'll take another 7 floors up top that are more regular in size. And they agreed, and we made our first deal and tried to move in until COVID hit. And so, but that has been a fabulous success for us, and over time that has become our corporate headquarters. Not technically, not legally, we're still San Francisco based.
We'll get into that. But let's go back to Hudson Yards. So what year was this?
This was in 15 and 16 when that deal was made. The building was still under construction at the time. So, and it delivered to us, I believe it was 19. And then we upfit it and prepared to move in, and then,
And then you are you able to share with us the price? It's public.
People will have to look that up.
Okay, all right, I got it. All right, I just thought I'd ask. And so tell us about 20 Hudson Yards. So then when did that happen?
So enter Charlie Scharf and his new regime, and he's just done a fabulous job of congealing and working Wells Fargo out of a deep hole that we were in on a regulatory front and making good progress, great progress on that. So he just said, look, guys, I mean, we got 500,000 feet at Grand Central, and we got 500,000 feet over here. I don't want to do anything stupid, but could you look into seeing about getting us all together? And so we did. And it turned out that the Neiman Marcus space was vacant, and Related would like nothing more than to unload that to us. And so we worked out a deal whereby we would acquire the space and Related would convert it from retail to office, which they are in the process of doing now. Matter of fact, I had a tour of that this morning. It's coming along great.
Wow.
And they will deliver that space to us middle of 25. And then
Is this a purchase or a lease?
it's a purchase. So that was another fortuitous proposition for us, that we currently owned 500,000 feet at 30 Hudson. So we would rather own the other piece of that, and this made itself available, and we decided to pursue it. And
So you're one of the anchor tenants in New York, John. This is a big deal. How many square feet do you
It'll
totally
be a
have?
million feet. We pale in comparison to the J.P. Morgans and Cities and B of A's and things like that. But it's a significant presence.
So you say you're in most states of the United States. Your headquarters are in San Francisco. How many square feet do you have there about?
Oh, I don't know what it would be in San Francisco. It would be 1 million feet, maybe.
And everybody's talking about San Francisco, how it's declining. Do you agree with that? And what's happening to the rents there?
Yes, I agree with that. And the rents have been moving accordingly downward. That has their challenges. It will come back, as we all say about Manhattan and New York. San Francisco is resilient on that front. They got a lot to offer. It just so happened that Charlie and his lieutenants were New York based, and that was part of his deal, that we're going to be New York based. So that tends to have a gravitational pull of the other executives and other people in the company. So consequently, and then we got this big trading floor now at 30 Hudson, so that has picked up a lot of the San Francisco based trading operation. So slowly that has declined, and it wasn't necessarily because of what's happened to post-COVID to San Francisco. It was just a natural evolution of our company.
So as you see all these cities, and you're in so many of them, which cities do you think are thriving and which are shrinking?
Sunbelt is pretty solid. So you can look at Southeast Florida. You can talk to Ken Griffin about that. He's just moved out of Chicago to Miami. So that Southeast Florida has blown up. We are doing this big development in Dallas. So we're big and high on the Dallas market. We're also building 2 data centers in Dallas, so that's underway now. Charlotte continues to be our largest presence, where we've got 27,000 employees there, and it has served First Union and Wachovia and now Wells Fargo. By the way, B of A is headquartered there as well in Charlotte.
What brings people? Is it taxes?
No. It's just it was an interesting proposition between First Union, Wachovia, and Nations Bank. Their CEOs there just found some loopholes early on to bypass. There was a law that prohibited interstate banking way back in the 80s. Mm-hmm. They figured out how to bypass that, and they started growing. And the friendly competition between the 2 CEOs and banks caused that town just to explode from a banking center, which became the number 2 banking center in the United States. So it has served both companies, B of A and Wells Fargo, very well. We have more employees there than B of A does, but both are good for the community.
So speaking of employees, when you look at cities like San Francisco or New York, where you have offices, and the word on the street is protesters and crime and decline in these cities, is it hard for you to get employees to come to these locations?
No, it's quite for New York. There's no problem at all. I can't speak to the San Francisco as much, but we don't have as much activity in San Francisco, but I will say in New York, it's not an issue. People are showing up to the office here, and by the way, our program on all that is for our bankers, and I use that loosely for every sense of people who interface with their customers. They're 5 days a week.
Well, this is, first of all, that's great, and this is fantastic news. So you're not having any trouble bringing people here. So I could say on my loudspeaker that New York is okay, and people want to come back to work. No issue hiring them.
No issue hiring them. I was with a group of some of my counterparts last night, and they were the same way, that they're adding here in Manhattan, and there seems to, well, these are particularly the PE firms and hedge fund kind of things. They're really growing here quite a bit. That's not quite our stick, but it's in the same vein. So those are our front office, customer-facing folks, and our mid to back office operations. Those are the heavy-duty Charlotte, Phoenix, Dallas, more in those markets where you get sort of a mid-range of cost. It's not dirt cheap, but it's very affordable compared to Manhattan and San Francisco for sure. So you're
telling people to come back to work 5 days a week, and what
the
happens
front
if
people, people like me who are not customer-facing, we're required 3 days a week. So
what happens if they say they don't want to come 5 days a week? You don't hire them, or you fire them? What do you do?
Well, they are monitored. Right now, it's pretty much it's shifted. It was recommended, and it's like most companies, it's taken a little bit more aggressive of a position over time, and now it's become part of our annual I would say goals that we have to meet in order to be assessed at the end of the year. Like, how did you do in your attendance? It's a shame, but that's what it's come to. And I don't know what happens otherwise, but it's being monitored and it's being looked at. I haven't had first-hand knowledge of any, or even second-hand knowledge of any issues associated with that. My team and I and our entire real estate team we don't have any issues with it, but so
it's about time.
Yeah, it's fine with us. I think we'll struggle more with our technology folks on making that happen. So we're consolidating a lot of. That's two other new leases that we've done. One of all places, Columbus, Ohio, where we're hiring a bunch of technology folks, and then also we're doing a consolidation here in New Jersey at Metro Park. So that will be a big...
Keep taking space in our area. Keep going. Let's talk about non-performing loans. If interest rates don't come down and banks are forced to take back some of these non-performing assets, what do you think is going to happen?
There is, first of all, I used to be a lender on the commercial real estate side. I'm not anymore. But how it manifests itself with us is now as a tenant, when we go to places or our current buildings, if they are in trouble, it's hard to get things done because they're either in receivership or they're having some other issues. There's not enough capital to do things. And so what are you going to do? You got to self-perform and make things happen. So one of the things that has rapidly risen to our checklist before you go into places is, what does the capital stack of this building look like? And what does how well equipped are the owners? Having said that, they can sell it tomorrow and you've got somebody else as your owner. So you can never bet on that forever. There is a day of reckoning that's happening. And
Tell us about that.
It will continue to happen for the next several years because of the older stock of office buildings that are out there that are just not going to get released almost at any price. And what the driver is here is the flight to quality that you hear a lot of. It's happening in Charlotte. There are 4 or 5 buildings in Center City, Charlotte, that are in receivership now, and those are going to have trouble. We own one of them that we're trying to sell, and it's not getting anywhere.
Do you think there'll be a fire sale, or are they going to just bury them on their balance sheets? What's going to happen?
Yeah, it'll be fire sales. Everybody will write them down to whatever the price point is, and then that site will get. And they're great sites. It's just that the buildings aren't up to where they need to be. So what companies are doing is, because of most companies are, they're not downsizing in people, they're just downsizing in their space because of hybrid work technology. They're able to, if they're leasing 100,000 feet today and they're paying whatever it is in Charlotte, $40 a square foot, they can downsize to go to a higher quality building at 73,000 square feet, and they can afford to pay $52 a square foot. So they can afford the higher rents because they're taking less space.
But people are coming back to work 5 days a week, so you'll need the space.
Well, yes. Well, if you look at it, even 3 days a week. So what happens on Tuesdays and Wednesdays?
Right. You need bigger to
You
expand.
got
Yeah.
everybody there anyway. It's Fridays, and you really worry about, but you can't plan for just that. You got to plan for the peak.
So do you think banks are going to close, like Signature here in New York? Like, what's going? I mean, these people can't pay their loans, and the banks are going to write it off. How much can you write off?
Yeah, I don't know where these. I know the larger banks in our league are well capitalized and they can withstand that. That's not going to be an issue. They've either already have reserve, they understand how this affects things. We've got that squared away, and I don't know the particulars of what that reserve looks like or what we're doing on that front, but that is not of concern for me. But the smaller ones that are heavily into commercial real estate loans, that could be an issue.
Maybe that'll be a good buying opportunity for Wells Fargo.
Maybe so.
Let's move on to retail. Over the last 3 years, online sales have gone up 31%, which accounts to $1.3 trillion of online sales just in the United States. Isn't that staggering? So $1.3 trillion people are buying online, not in stores. So, I mean, things that used to be sold in stores. And I get my toothpaste online now. Literally, it's like easier for me. It's just I figured out how to do it. My kid showed me. Finally, I could do a little swipe on Amazon. I don't have to go to a store. So what's going to happen to all the retail stores and the brick and mortar? What's going to happen to those locations?
Well, I'm not. Well, first of all, as it relates to Wells Fargo, we've been on a steady diet of reducing our retail because we're the same way. Our digital and online banking has really increased, and we're taking that into account. So we have been downsizing our retail footprint to accommodate that. As it relates to the retail space, from that standpoint, most of that is being converted to, unless you have flagship stores here on Madison Avenue or Fifth Avenue, whatever, they are going to be converted to different experiential retail as opposed to soft goods or whatever that they're selling. And I'm talking about places in Cleveland or places that aren't so tourist covered like Fifth Avenue is, but they will slowly be converted to just a different use.
You think there's a use for that? Like Lord & Taylor closed, Henry Bendel in New York, Macy's San Francisco. So what's going to happen?
Well, you can do what we did and buy it and convert it to office and occupy it. So we've done that, and I think that's happened. I think Ken Griffin did that in Palm Beach as well. Bought an old Nordstrom's there. Converted that and went in. So, but these smaller ones are easily converted. The larger big boxes, a little tougher proposition. Standalone way out, data centers are taking off. So who knows? They put some kind of colo facility in something, these big boxes. I don't know.
So you're pretty optimistic. What you're really saying is, so there's not this doom and gloom that we keep hearing about. The real estate is falling apart. The commercial sector is, the debt is going to kill us, and taxes are going to go up. People are going to leave. Tell us some of this optimistic thoughts, which we really want to hear.
It's probably mostly centered because I'm old.
You've seen this before.
I've seen it before. I've seen this movie. I've seen the cycles, and I've seen how this goes. And it's just a resiliency about it. And the people that are actually in the business are very creative. So they'll come up with some way, somehow, to reinvent, repurpose, restaff. Now, it's not going to come without some pain and some write-offs and some losses along the way. With these folks that are giving their properties back in receivership, they're losing all their equity. So those are big hurts.
But a lot of people took their money out.
They did. And now, so then multifamily investment, now on the larger program of commercial real estate, industrial, data centers, multifamily have held their own throughout. And so that, as a matter of fact, they've not only held their own, so they've really expanded and done very well. And that's leveling off a little bit, and rightfully so, but all that toothpaste that you're getting now has got to be there tomorrow. Mm-hmm. So they got to be next day, or the last mile's got to be right there, right then and there. So that piece of it has been doing fine. The branches that we're selling, they're going to be converted into some coffee shop or some little other, whatever it is. There's all kinds of things that they'll turn into.
Next cycle. And what are you seeing internationally? You're responsible for some European
Well,
locations.
I was. The international portfolio has come in and out of my purview several times over the years. I mentioned that I'm old.
You don't look old.
So we've got, I don't know how many locations internationally, but we have been growing, and we have front office locations, maybe 40, 50, whatever, around the globe. Those are relatively smaller. We do have one big linchpin in London where we own 300,000 feet, and that's a node for us, the key node internationally for our front office folks. Our mid to back office R&D work, fulfillment work, call center work that has been rapidly growing in the Philippines for our call centers, and in India, in 3 different markets in India, for our operations R&D work, and we have historically been well behind our peers in the international arena of that.
Say peers.
J.P. Morgan Chase, B of A, Citi, they've got a far higher percentage of their footprint in India, Philippines than we do, and we're still behind. It's we're not trying to catch up or anything. We're just saying we've been more prudent and seeing how things work, but that's been and that continues. We are some of our largest, maybe our largest lease, 1.2 million feet or so, something like that, is in India, Hyderabad. So we've got, and that continues to move along. I think that'll steady out after a little bit, but
So if you had to look at everything global, you said you've been doing this for a lot of years, even though you don't look like it. What do you think will be the factors for the growth versus not? And just if you could just paint a picture of the next 5 years in this commercial real estate section, what factors do you think will help it grow, and what factors do you think will make it worse? Off the top of your head.
It's always the answer. It's the economy. How's the economy going to do? There's just no 2 ways about it. The economy performs. Everybody's making loans. Everybody's growing, and I couldn't tell you the economics behind the Fed and their rates and how all this works. But
at Wells Fargo, you're well situated.
Well, yeah.
Wells Fargo.
Yeah. We just got a great group of leadership, and I like what I've seen. They're a very approachable group. They're a very matter of fact kind of group, and they're just making, I think, a lot of the right moves.
Well, that's great, and thank you for doing this. And I really want everybody to understand you're so optimistic. Well, not so optimistic, but you're upbeat. You say you're
upbeat. Through a little trough here, but
so
right.
if I said to you right now, I have this great building for you to take, in New York, and it's, would you do it?
Well, we just did it.
Well, that was 3 years ago. When was it?
20 Hudson was just a year ago.
Okay.
Not even.
That says everything.
Yeah.
That says everything.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for coming on the Miller Report, and we can't wait to get this going and show everybody that you're an anchor in New York.
Great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.